Hey, what's up guys, it's Liam or Weagle on your Overwatch, back with a new video. Today we're going to be talking more in depth after testing the changes on the PTR to Deva, Zenyatta, Mei and Reaper. Now I'm sure just about anyone that isn't a pro player can agree that the Zenyatta nerf wasn't really needed, but today we want to take a closer look at all of these changes and what they mean specifically to certain levels of play, because some of these changes are clearly made for the high-end level of play, and some of them make these heroes way better at more disorganized levels. So I want to start with Reaper, because I think when I first started playing Reaper on this patch, I was like, this is definitely OP, but after testing it, you can see where its weaknesses are, even with the much better flow that his kit now has. Now, one thing that's very interesting to note is that with Reaper's new changes, being able to cancel out with Wraith form and also his ultimate reloading his gun, he can pretty much shoot forever without really reloading properly. You can shoot all of your bullets and then use your Wraith form to reload, then you can shoot all of your bullets again. If you have your ultimate up, you can use your ultimate, which also reloads your bullets for you, then you can shoot 8 shots again, by which time Wraith form is back. It's pretty easy to get like 30 shots off with barely being able to reload. But the thing about Reaper is, and this change does not affect it, is that he is a close range hero. And one of the most obvious things that happened when we were testing it was that on maps where Reaper had to get a long distance without a very good team comp, which, let's be real, in matchmaking you're not going to get very often, trying to get Reaper to the right place is really difficult. So many of the maps that you'll be watching in the background that we're playing on, you're having to play like a really flanky Reaper to try and get them picks off, and someone like Tracer's just better at that most of the time. One thing that this change definitely does do though is make Reaper even better against tanks, because before he didn't really want to be brawling in with them, especially when it's 3 or 4 tanks and you have a Roadhog threat, a Deva, a Zarya and a Reinhardt that can just bash you in the face or stun you with the hook. And when you used your Wraith form, they always knew what your countdown would be, so they would be able to counter you quite quickly when you come back into normal form. However, now you can just get away for like a second, get that key healing you need, and then be shooting them in the face and healing off of doing the damage to them too. So anyone worrying about a quad tank meta, this pretty much just cleans that up straight away. If this change goes through, there's just not going to be multi-tanks anywhere really. Reaper will mince through them if you're good enough at him. Now, the positives about this new kit are that Reaper is a much better duelist now. However, there are a lot of stuns in the game. So Reaper can now go up to a McCree, and if you time that Wraith form perfectly, the McCree doesn't have that time frame to get away from you when you're Wraithing, to try and stun you after your Wraith, or to get to a health pack. He is really in trouble if he misses that key ability, and so is anyone. This goes for Roadhog or Brigitte when she's released. All of these heroes with different stuns can wreck Reaper, but in a duel, he is much more favored in them now with this change. But one thing that is 100% true is that someone like Reaper now is going to be stronger at the lower levels of play. Anything below Masters, he's going to be strong just because of how disorganized it is and how much stronger he is in them duels. But on a lot of the maps with the big wide open spaces, if you're any good at McCree or Soldier, Widowmaker or even Junkrat, Reaper just still can't get close enough to you, and it's too dangerous for him to be in your team for too long. But he will prey on that disorganized play, and that takes me a little bit into Mei. Mei's change is interesting because now that she pierces through, she can kind of freeze multiple people at the same time. But upon testing this, it's very difficult to actually do that against high level opposition, because again, they will outrange you. What Mei does, in fact, the most important part of her kit is her wall. And this hasn't changed one bit. So the big Mei utility is walling off enemies and killing the things this side of the wall. Maybe when you wall 2 people off now, you'll be able to freeze them both and your team will be able to clean up a little bit quicker. But at lower levels of play, where McCrees aren't shooting the Mei instantly, being able to freeze the entire team coming through the choke is a reality, and again is another big buff at a disorganized level of play, because Mei is just going to freeze everything in them situations. But when I'm playing her and the enemies are splitting, and in some situations, like a soldier would just run away from me. I was trying to speed boost after him with a Lucio and freeze him. He just ran away, kept his distance, and shot me in the face. And as Mei, there's not a lot you can do about that. So her change is quite negligible at some levels of play, and at others just makes her even better than she already is, because the skill gaps of these heroes we're talking about specifically are way bigger at different levels of play. For example, Junkrat's good through all the ranks because you just spam down chokes and get kills, but Reaper at a high level, way easier to counter, same as Mei, so it's very interesting. Long story short on these two heroes, if you just take range, they can't really do a lot. Junkrat, Soldier, Widow, Pharah, absolutely destroy both of these heroes, and even though they're going to be much better and way more fun to play, we don't think their viability is going to skyrocket. Now Zenyatta is really interesting to me because I don't think he needed a nerf at all, but I think for a lot of people, maybe this nerf won't make a huge difference. Now, this is probably based on pro feedback, especially pros like Jonak that just destroy everybody with the right click. Well, now the right click is slightly worse, but do I think that's going to make a big difference to most people? No. Maybe across the map, yes, it doesn't kill them quite as quick. People can slightly more avoid it. It's slightly harder to hit, but it wasn't needed, and it also doesn't do a whole lot. I think for most people, Zen's quite difficult to use. If you get really good with him, he's actually one of the best carry heroes in the game, but he's insanely difficult to do that with. He's one of my weaker heroes for sure, and I definitely don't think he needed it. You can let me know in the comments as well, guys, like, what do you think to these changes? Do you think they're all justified? Are there any you definitely don't want to see go through? Because I think that overall, they don't do a lot at my level of play, but I definitely see where they would for others. Now, finally, we have Deva, and what this nerf does, again, doesn't make an enormous difference. Now, Deva is one of the best heroes in the game. I think she is actually the most picked hero in the game at nearly every level of play, but doing slightly less damage on the rockets isn't going to make a difference to the people that are playing Deva correctly, because her current kit is used to shield your team with a defense matrix and then pounce something when you need to, or take out a soldier on the high ground. Now, he may be slightly harder to kill without the rockets, but it isn't going to make a huge difference. Again, it's more of a quality of life change. Some people were really mad, I've seen, about this Deva change, and she is really, really good. In fact, we're doing another video soon that expresses how good Deva is, and that people don't really see how good she is. The best hero in the game at the minute alongside Tracer, and this rocket change is quality of life, slight nerf, but won't make a big difference in matchmaking. And it really feels like a lot of this, actually, this entire patch is quite honed towards the pros, in my opinion at least. Now, if we were to be hypercritical of the Deva change, it would be that she is not quite as good at bursting something down that's being healed or pocketed, or if it's a soldier healing himself, your chances of just getting in there and destroying him is slightly less now. But you would also notice that even on current patch, Deva's rockets are so good that you kind of overkill people that you pounce perfectly. So a lot of the time it won't make a big difference, just maybe if they're pocketed. And I definitely don't see it taking her viability down anytime soon. Now, there's one thing that's definitely true about all of these changes, and specifically the Mei and the Reaper one. The new Reaper change makes him fluid. It makes him like Doomfist, where you always have an ability that you're going to want to use as off cooldown if you do it right. And a lot of the new heroes that come out, like Brigitte and Moira, are able to roll out their abilities, and that's how they work. Well, Reaper's now in the same way, where he'll keep shooting and healing himself, and he'll use that Wraith at the right time, keep shooting, and generally you'll have your ultimate there to try and bounce off of as well. And you're always reloading, and if you have to go back, if this change doesn't go through like this, or it does and then he gets nerfed back a little bit, it won't feel as good. Going back to the old Reaper's not going to feel as good, but we're pretty convinced that he's actually not as OP as we initially thought, but I do have some concerns at levels of play where heroes like McCree are even harder, and just mouse one-ing with Reaper and his massive hitbox that he has to try and shoot you with is probably going to be quite devastating for a lot of people. So I definitely recommend that you go and check these changes out because they're insanely fun, if nothing else. Some of them are negligible, and some of you may have some problems. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below to any of this. I'd love to read through your thoughts and opinions down there. Be sure to drop a like, as it does help us out and lets us know you're enjoying the content, and you're going to want to hit that bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Be sure to have a great day as always. Take care and peace, people.